And we're back. Thank you all so much for sticking around. I hope the first half of the conversation was as much of a blast for you all as it was for me. But without any further ado, here's the second and final half of my conversation with radio legend, good friend, and all-around god, Chuck Stikl. And now, kind of to shift forward a bit, if it's cool, man, I want to talk about alternative radio.
Yeah.
And, man, life in radio, because I got to tell you, I don't think a lot of people understand. I mean, first of all, I don't know anybody. There are other DJs in town. I don't know anybody who's been with the same station.
Right.
For 3 decades.
I don't know. It has been a long time. I was fortunate enough, and the reason probably why it's been a long time is both companies I've worked for, we were bought out at one point, but both companies I worked for were private. They were not corporate.
They're not.
They were
channel.
not. Yes, they were not the ones that when quarterly earnings came out, and you had to chop so many jobs, and it didn't matter where, and didn't matter how, and blah 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 blah. Where they don't care about you. I've always known the owners personally, which is kind of a weird thing to think about, but no, I mean it's in both situations. I've had the great fortune of actually knowing the people who I work for.
And am I right? Shamrock and Stevens?
Yep.
Is that right?
So Shamrock Communications, which, fun little fact, it was the Scranton Times that owned Shamrock Communications. Scranton Times, if you watch The Office, they are the newspaper that Michael's always trying to sell, because obviously the newspaper buys the most paper.
More paper than anybody else.
And in the beginning credits, you will see a picture of that where the newspaper is, and that is the Scranton Times. That's who we were owned by. The Edge was up until 2013, July of 2013. We were purchased by Stevens Media Group and David Stevens, who lives here in Tulsa.
I had no idea Stevens was
lives here.
Oh, fantastic.
Offices upstairs. So I mean, it's that says a lot about why I've been able to do it at the same station for 30 years. Because if I would have had
that says some of it. I wouldn't. Maybe a lot, but I think
it's a lot. I think you ask anybody. You ask guys like Lynn Hernandez and Chris Plank and guys we've known who've worked here in town, and then all of a sudden, for no reason at all, they're gone at the station that you thought you ask any of those guys. No, we have a lot of talent. It's not that we don't have talent here. It's just that these companies don't care, and it's really hard.
The music industry as a whole
has always been like that.
Yeah.
Which, again, the nice thing about not being in corporate is, we can kind of adapt. It's a lot easier to adapt than it is to try to tell a bean counter how radio works, and then have the bean counter look at you and go, I don't care. This is the amount of money it needs to be spent, and here's the amount of money it needs to be made. So if you're not doing it, boom, you're gone.
You're gone. You're out the door.
You're right. No concept of building something. No concept of anything like that. Now, like everybody else's job in the world, this is not radio or entertainment exclusive anymore at all. The deal is you're going to do more jobs for the same amount of pay you did a lot less jobs for.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I do not work with the same amount of people I worked with 15, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had producer, and we had this, and we had that for the morning show. We had all this different kind of stuff, but we don't have that. Those things, they're gone, and they're not coming back. Nobody has them anymore, unless you work in a super, super major market and you basically own your own show. You don't have that anymore.
I don't think enough people realize you and Josh are working the boards.
Right.
And you're
correct.
You're mixing it as you go, and you're looking something up on the internet.
Correct.
And you're doing it all in real time every day.
Yeah, it's correct. And that's the thing. But again, I'm very fortunate to work with somebody who is known nationally for his alternative brain and his alternative knowledge. One of the best programmers in the country, and we got him because one of those big companies tossed him to the side for no reason whatsoever, and fortunately, and he's fallen in love with it, and he's fallen in love with the fact that, you know what, it's what he does. It's not about we need to save money here, so chop, chop, chop. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to work with him. I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of people. I mean, Greg Kosak, we talked about him earlier. Yeah. And Josh and I were just talking about this the other day. Who would be the most, I don't know if it's remembered is the right word or the most cherished or whatever it is, but it was Greg. It was Greg, because Greg was here before it was even The Edge. Greg was here with the Hot Rock and Z 104.5. And Greg was also the guy at the club who was spinning the record on Friday night and Saturday night.
At first, it was the rock. People realized it was the Rock and Roll Caravan. Then it was the Caravan Club.
And
the jocks would go and see what Greg was spinning.
Yes, and that's a lot of it. And so a guy who, I mean, I will never get to where I mean that guy was Tulsa. If you ever want to talk about a guy who was Tulsa, that guy was Tulsa.
I will tell you, and you and I may have had this conversation before. I've never heard anybody say a negative thing about Greg Kozak. And I asked, I met Greg 2 days before my 14th birthday. Right. My brother was bouncing at the Caravan, and Greg was jocking there. And when my 14th, 15th summer, I'd go up to the clubs on the north side. He was teaching the guys how to scratch. And I asked him one time, a typical Johnny B. I called him one afternoon. I said, hey, man, you up for a road trip to Houston, leaving in about 10 minutes?
Right.
Because I got Black Sabbath there tonight. This is the morning, and I got to go down. And all he said was, can we stop at a bathroom along the way? Let's do it. We jumped in. But I asked him, I said, man, never have. And he said, I decided a long time ago I wanted to die without any enemies if I could.
Yep.
And I said, man, you managed to nail that one. And that was, I remember, man, folks who have been in Tulsa a long time remember the Chuck the Sports Guy, the Ernie, Jane, and Chuck, and the Greg and Chuck for a while.
Yep.
And I remember Greg his only question was when it was you guys doing morning, Greg really liked sleeping in until like
he did
1 or 2.
To be fair,
his only question.
Some of my most impressive morning partners, Josh and Greg, neither one of them. I mean, I can't tell you what we had to do to get both of them to work mornings.
I know. Kozak told me the big part was he wanted to be across the mic from you.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big part of his decision. You guys obviously had a history.
And we had talked, yes, exactly. And he's still doing the Caravan.
Oh, yeah.
So you can imagine what that had to be like. Working Thursday night. And, oh, by the way, show goes on Friday morning at 6 a.m. We're on the air. Let's go.
And then Friday night, you're back at 8 o'clock.
Right. Spinning again. Hours. So, yeah, when you're asleep, that's some other time. But yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty amazing that he did that. And you know what I liked about all the different shows I did too?
What's that?
I always kind of treat it, and I tell people, because a lot of times when you talk about radio and morning shows and stuff like that, Seinfeld always comes up because you have a character on a show who is everybody, so-and-so. And, but I liked the fact that all of my shows were different.
They really were.
They were put together differently.
Totally different flavors.
The humor was different. Mm-hmm. The realness was different. So basically it wasn't like I didn't feel like I got typecast necessarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you do play a role. As honest as you may be on the air, you are playing a role.
You're still, yeah.
I mean, you have to be entertaining.
You have to have a bit of a mask.
That's exactly. You have to, and you have to create things, and you do have to have some of that. But at and that's really what makes a great radio is the ones that can weave that together where you can't tell which side is what, and you just buy into the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's what I liked about it. All the shows I did have been different. They've all been different, and that I think has also kept me fresh.
Man, you're saying that, I'm thinking that, and Ernie, Jane, and Chuck,
right?
Greg and Chuck, all completely different animals.
Completely different animals.
Not even, I mean, if that Venn diagram overlapped at all, it's just because it's a sliver.
Yes.
Like there was nothing at all. The music played maybe would be the only, like the whole vibe was.
And again, we didn't have control over that stuff. We were the ones putting the show on in between, and then there was some other guy who handles the music and goes, this is what you'll be playing. Yeah. And, but yeah, you're right. But that's what's kind of fun about it is like, you know, I got to work on a few different sitcoms, and they're all been kind of different.
And they've all
kind of fun. And not all were sitcoms. And some were, right, yeah.
some were soap operas.
Right. I don't know, right, yes. But great. They're all standalone, which I like a lot.
Let me ask you this, if you can answer it. You may not be able to, and if not, I understand. 30 years in, would you be a DJ again? Would you be a morning jock or a jock at all?
Oh, wow.
I know that's an
If now?
and not a fair question.
Okay, no, hold on.
Feel free to
now?
Now, yes. In today's radio.
In today's radio world? Probably
if
not.
it even is a market.
Probably not. And it would be, because again, there was no chance for me to just do my own podcast if I didn't get on radio.
Mm-hmm. The funny part is I have some kind of notes I'm looking at that I wanted, and one of those was, man, you're always having to be on. When you're the morning guy, I remember when Carlos Mencia came to Brady?
Yep.
And he goes on at 8 o'clock, and he's probably 8:20. The opener's like up till 8:20, and at 8:16, 8:17, somebody had been like in a wreck.
Yep.
I remember Sinbad one time. His dog had been mauled, and he found out and I thought, man, you always have to be like, you don't get to have, and you and I, we have a strong enough history. We've called each other on shitty days.
Yes.
You're not allowed to have them.
No, you're not.
In that role. You don't get to be human in that aspect.
Is tough, but also pretty great in the fact that it's my escape. If say there's a
death, your coping mechanism.
Yes, maybe there's a death. Maybe there is a tremendous breakup. Maybe there is whatever else is going on in real life that makes it terrible. And I was taught this early on by Jan Dean, who was our operations manager years ago and was a radio legend years before that.
Truly,
but she said, no, this is your escape. This is your oasis. This is the only place you can feel okay when you are that bad off. Treat this like it should be treated. Like, no matter what terrible things that I'm going to have to walk out into as soon as I leave, right now, they're not part of me. And I get to enjoy it. And it's one of those weird, you get 4 hours of breath.
I remember listening after we both learned that Greg Cozad had died. I remember listening because Chuck and Greg and Brent Douglas and I, we had a thing where we were getting together and grabbing breakfast and just hanging. And I remember when Cozad came and had lost his hair.
Yes, which I completely bought his lie, which he told us, because again, I totally respect why he did it too.
We asked him outright.
He didn't want to upset anybody. And his line to me was, well, I ran out of all the girls who want to date long hair, so I ran through all the girls who want to date long hairs, so I had to change it up. And I bought it.
So did I.
I thought, well, yeah, he's probably losing a little on top, and he went, just get rid of it all.
Even when he was insistent that we take that final picture at Tally's. Because he was the one going, let's get a pic. We haven't got a pic. Let's get a pic. Never put two and two together.
Never did. And never did.
I remember listening after you'd gotten the news. And again, man, Chuck and I have called each other when the real life things happen. And listening and trying to, man, am I hearing that? And I never did.
No. And it's not. And it's okay.
And it makes sense now when you say that.
Because that was my time where I didn't have to be fretting about that, be depressed about it, whatever.
You could be Chuck.
I could fall into that other role and again, it wouldn't be healthy if I did that 24 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
But to do it for 4,
it is. That's what it is. It's a sigh of relief.
Yes,
you're catching your breath.
And then you're going to have to go deal with it again. And reality hits you, and it's okay. But boy, it's nice. It's nice to just get away.
To be able to just say, hey, I'm going to shut this door for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And man, I didn't know Brent. I knew Brent had some health issues.
Right.
But I didn't realize that it was that there was anything that I needed to be concerned. When Greg walked up to our first breakfast I told him, man, you look like shit. Because I know, I always do, and played it off. And I thought, man, he just wanted to do something different. He got sick of washing his hair.
And I didn't think Brent either. And it was kind of funny because there was a few times, though, Brent would show up and he'd have a weird bruise.
Yep.
And I will promise you, and every time, it was Billy Bob Thornton. Something involved Billy Bob Thornton in this situation.
Billy Bob Thornton was a big Roy D. Mercer fan.
Huge Roy D. Mercer fan. Who couldn't do an imitation. Listen to me. And this is a Academy Award actor. Could not do an R.D. Mercer to save his life.
Not even close.
Could not even come close to it.
I mean, Chuck and I do a better I'm looking for a fella than Billy Bob ever could hope to have.
But a huge fan and became a huge friend.
Yeah. I mean, and it was, if they were playing within a couple 100 miles.
Yeah, I mean, he was calling
Brent.
Brent was there.
Down and let's hang.
Yep.
And the stories. I remember him. Greg would, or Brent would always ask me about Chuck Berry and Christopherson, and I'd always ask him about, and he said, Billy Bob is everything you think he would be.
Exactly.
And 100% of all of it. But I remember Brent had called me one time, and because, Roy D. Mercer became a thing.
Yes.
It's a product and a brand, and they've got the taste and everything.
Working in radio, you can't imagine, and I'm glad we're starting to talk about Brent here too, because working in radio, you have to understand, there were not a lot of teams as big and known nationally as Phil and Brent were.
No, not at all.
Again, a lot of it had to do with we were a big route for trucking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it had to do with the deal, the R.D. Mercer, record deal. But as a whole, I mean, their show was brilliant. So here I am as a kid coming in to probably the hardest market in the world to go do a morning show in.
Truly.
When, you have the Kings who own the airwaves.
They owned it. By far, the massive differential between first and second.
I remember Brent, and this is early on, we'd go to these, you'd have awards things. I don't even know if we have them anymore, but years back, we would have local radio awards and stuff like that. You'd go and whatever.
Spot awards.
And stuff like, and I remember talking to Brent, running into Brent at one of them early, my first, second year on the radio or whatever, and him just telling me, hey, don't worry about this, do that, but helping me.
Oh, yeah. He was.
And I remember
everybody to succeed.
Ernie, when we were in jail, Ernie couldn't understand. That's a competition. Why? No. And I go, no. He was like actually trying to help. And he goes, that's not. He's working on something for you. Blah, 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 blah. They didn't get it. Phil and Brent there was no competition for them.
That's it. There was no competition
and
for them to try to beat out.
They did what they did.
And did it well.
As well as could be.
Yeah.
They weren't worried about what we were doing.
They could care less.
But he also understood I wanted a career in this business, and he kind of was helping me along with that aspect of it.
Here's the real side of things.
Yes, and just years and years ago. This is mid-'90s, him helping me out with that, and that always stuck with me. And you want to talk about a guy in radio, respect Greg Kozak and Brent Douglas.
Both of them. Brent had called me. He said, man, do you know anybody in the business who can audit royalties? And I said, man, I got a couple folks. And he said, I just need, and I said, I don't even know who you're with. I guarantee they're short stay. Like that's the business.
That's how it works.
That's by design. And I asked him one time, I think we were waiting for you, as a matter of fact, over at Big Biscuit. And I said, man, do you ever see yourself bringing Roy back regularly or whatnot? And he said, man, without Phil, I don't really see a reason to.
Right.
It was, and when Phil passed away, and I never knew Phil Stone. I met him once, but I didn't
and
know
he was fine. I mean, it wasn't like but Brent always seemed to connect with me more. Yeah.
And he said, man, once he passed away, I was like, man, that's the sign he was looking for.
Yep.
To hang it up. I said, man, you did everything you could have set out to do.
Right.
Several times over, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, he could have done something else or whatever because he was that funny.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he could have written anything. I mean, the Greek theater and all the different stuff that he would really, it's just amazing. But you're right. And I remember at one point, didn't KBO or somebody else take him on for a little bit to play back some of the old R.D. Mercer stuff
and revisit it
and stuff like that. And I don't think it seemed like he had a real good taste about that.
I thought the vibe I got, and I did not ask him this outright, was he loved Roy D. as much as he loved Lake Dexia, as much as he loved Greek theater, as much as he loved, and if he could have maybe done them all, but they were kind of, hey, we want to focus on the Roy D. thing.
Yeah.
And I get Roy D. became its own deal, and more power to him. But I will say one more thing I want to talk about, because I don't want to take up all your time, before I hit my questions. I had a dream last night.
Okay.
And this is so eerily specific to our conversation because no one else could ever grasp this. I dreamed that Christopherson, now Chuck tagged along on a lot of Christopherson shenanigans.
Yes.
I had a dream that Christopherson played Edgefest.
Oh, wow.
And this is old, like out at Mohawk Park, like Edgefest. And I think it came from people that may not realize Roskilde, big, massive festival over in Europe. They kind of do their lineup. Christopherson opened for Metallica the last time he was there. That's how they did it.
And that's perfect.
And I thought, man, and I woke up and I mentioned this, I think, to Denise. And she said, do you think there will ever be another Edgefest? And I said, I don't know how they did out of Mohawk. Yeah. I'm talking from the business logistics. Right. I have no idea how they did it in the first place.
And you know how it is, how much more expensive it is to put on a show than it was in the 90s.
I mean,
you remember the difference. I mean,
exponentially.
Right.
A group I remember, and I'll say this number outright because it's been so long ago. I remember paying Journey $75,000 in 2006.
Right.
And now I guarantee they're half a if not closer to a million. I mean, they just, and that's how it's gone. I was lucky early on in that I knew folks who had fallen out of favor would come back into vogue. So I was with Chuck and Chris and BB and Dylan to an extent.
Yep.
Gordon Lightfoot. Not realizing I was going to age myself out of a job because those guys were going to reach the point.
Right.
But she said, man, would there ever be an Edge Fest? I don't see it happening because now you're laying out 7 figures or whatever it would be. Those are some good concerts.
It could be done, but again, those Edge Fests that we did back then, we funded them. Whereas this would have to be something that one of the big promoters says.
Yeah.
We'll buy it, you slap your name on it and promote it.
And we'll keep the money.
And that kind of thing. And it would be something like that, which, again, not necessarily something we would be opposed to. I mean, just to put it out because, and again, too, the other thing you got to remember is everybody thinks, oh, well, you pay for these bands, you're good to go. Well, there's security, and then you have to you build a stage for it, and then you catering, insurance, and fencing, and porta potties, and people don't realize what really all goes into it and how much money there is in it.
Somebody asked me one of the guests I'm having in the future. I worked on Pavarotti's farewell tour with, and they said, "Man, that had to take a couple months to put together." I said, "That took 20 months." No. The last year was a full time. It was 40 hours a week.
I would imagine, right?
A festival like that, it's not something you throw together. I don't call up Jimmy's Chicken Shack. You guys want to play on Friday? Okay, come on down and we'll make it happen. But I will say for anybody who wasn't there in the day, Edge Fest was really its own thing, and it's odd because it was in this mosquito infested.
Oh, it was the worst
Mohawk Park
place in the world to do it. Although I guess when we were kids, we didn't care.
We didn't. That's what it was. We didn't. I told Denise, I said it was like picture MASH, but without the tents.
Right.
Like it's just a blank area.
Right. And if it rained 3 weeks before, you'd still have mud.
You would still have, and it'd be 158% humidity. But you'd leave a fan of 4 or 5 bands you weren't a fan of. That was what was so cool about it.
That was so true. And great, too, because at the time, and that's the nice thing about that alternative format is you're constantly finding new bands. Therefore, the bands are cheaper, and you can have a whole day's worth.
Exactly.
Like if we tried to slap on a show, like a rock show or whatever anymore. I mean, Rocklahoma is a great example of this. I mean, look at the bands you have to have on that thing to make it feasible. That's a lot. That's a lot.
I don't think people realize, even when you're looking at the poster, how much.
That's a lot, and that's a lot of money. And here's the thing. With festivals, these are one-offs. So now you're also paying to fly them there and get their equipment there, and it's not routed. And all that is on your back, so it just makes the costs that much more expensive. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with the Edge Fest. It
was a blast, but it's getting worse and worse. And I tell people, man, in radio may be this way, Live Nation and AEG,
right?
Last quarter, 93% of all ticket sales. So you have everybody else we're fighting.
That's it,
6 or 7%.
And literally, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it would have to be one of them who would say,
"You come up and say, hey, we'll
do this, and we know you have a history with this. We'll slap your name on it. This is who we've got ready to go," and they'll probably do 30 of those around the country.
Yeah.
Where they just move them around and they route them and they handle it all.
It'd be a tour. It wouldn't be a festival.
Right.
I will tell you, man, I've been sober for 20 some odd years now, but I got off gin much earlier because of an Edge Fest. I went out a couple days or maybe a week ahead of time, and I buried some gin.
Oh, yeah, in a hiding spot so you don't have to worry about it. Right. I got my booze, and I'm set to go.
At the time, it never crossed my mind, this is going to be 100-degree booze.
Right.
It's been buried in the Oklahoma summer. I stopped drinking gin that day. It was like I went back to my car and said, man, I don't even want to listen to Jimmy Eat World or Spine or whoever was up there.
I remember I had one friend who would go out there a week ahead, like just when they're starting production or whatever, and bring a golf cart and chain it to a tree. And then day of the show, walks in, got his own golf cart. And guess what? Everybody waves you through no matter what you're wearing around your neck.
If you got a golf clipboard or whatever,
you come on through.
That sounds like a Larry Schaefer. Something Schaefer would have done.
He did our first Edge Fest, Larry.
Did he really?
Yeah, Larry did our first Edge Fest.
I tell you what, you talk earlier about competition. I had lunch with Chad and Hunter Rogers about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them when I'd had this conversation with Isaac Hansen that you and I just kind of referenced earlier. Isaac asked me, hey, do you think the guys who run Canes could run Tulsa Theater? And I said, man, if you would have asked me back then, I would have said, they're a bunch of assholes. F those guys. They're out to rip you off. No, those Rogers kids are awful. And I told them, I said, man, you guys not only could run it,
right,
you could do it better. And that's nothing against Dave Fitzgerald. I'm just saying they have the history with the number of dates they do and the number of agencies they work with.
I think, too, with David Fitzgerald, it's a tough thing because you got to balance Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Exactly right.
That's a lot of what's going on as far as that goes.
And you have to make a choice. But the concept being that Rogers Brothers owning Canes is the best thing that could have happened to it. But I don't think enough people realize what Larry built at Little Wing.
No, that's correct.
As in terms of not just people think of Canes and they think legislation, but I mean, taking Hank Williams Jr. and turning him into what he is, and the Willie festivals and picnics and turning those into what they are. And man, when I was when we took over Tulsa Theater, Schaefer was there, and I know the guy will tell you he wants to wring my neck some days and hug me some days.
Right.
But I learned more from him.
Sure.
By walking over, because I said, man, he officed out. I said, man, hang out here. And walking over and say, does this offer, this is 20-some odd years ago, does this offer look good? And he'd say, man, I'd maybe tweak this. He'd say, that's about $25,000 too high, and save me that money in one sentence.
Like that.
And the further I got from Tulsa, the bigger of a deal Larry Schaefer was, and still is.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah. I mean, it's like Oral Roberts. The further you got away, the bigger of a deal everybody knew this guy
When
was.
we were putting together that first Edge Fest, I remember that was kind of the thing that everybody had said from the station, whatever, was like, oh, he went out to L.A., and it was like, you get meetings right away.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's how that works.
Larry's the guy that your meetings get bumped for.
Right. Yes.
And it's one of those, again, one of the nicest. And the funny part is, I don't think people ever realized Larry and I, John Scott was running the PAC, Tony Winters was at the Maybe Center. When I was at the Brady or Tulsa Theater, we all went out to lunch regularly. Like, we'd throw each other shows. B.B. King is a better fit at this
over here
than it is over there.
I can't do it anyways.
That competition wasn't. And I told Chad and Hunter, I said, man, I probably was a little more ambitious back then, but the best thing that ever happened to Canes was those guys taking it over.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have, and this is, I don't mean to dig against Larry at all, but I don't know if Green Day, if Foo Fighters, if Robert Plant and Allison, those guys want to come. I remember calling Dylan's agent and saying, man, I know Dylan's going to do this date, but I could sell 1,000 more seats. Bob wants to play Canes. Bob wants to work with the Rogers. Man, cool.
Yeah, which is kind of an incredible thing and a great thing for a city like Tulsa to have.
That's the type of thing that normally Los Angeles has.
You got it.
2 or 3 of those guys.
Got it.
Phoenix maybe, or some of your major markets.
Yeah.
But for them to develop it, stay in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Hanson Brothers, same way, stay here and kind of help the kids.
I really love here as of lately, a lot of these artists also doing live albums at Canes. That has been great, hasn't it?
The best new artist, the only one since Fulbright's
I know
Liar
you're going to say.
Wyatt Flores.
That's correct.
At Canes
and it is
phenomenal.
It's really good.
And that kids 23 or 24 years old.
They're all kids to us.
Yeah, they're all anybody younger than me, which is anyone playing music. And it is. I held off on listening because the hype was so great.
Right.
Couldn't live up to it, and it sure as hell did.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. And he's a couple albums now. Right now, he's opening for Jelly Roll and Post Malone.
Yeah.
So he's doing something right. Ashley Kirkley, the GM of Mercury, is his tour manager as well. And because I hear all the feedback from everybody knows what they're doing. I mean, this is the first step for this kid, they're saying. But I put that album on and I thought, oh my God. And then Chad had posted, man, and all the time we've owned Canes, we've had like 10 artists record live. And he had to go back in and mend it and be like, we've had like 20 or 25 record at Canes because the energy there is not like anywhere else.
No, you're correct.
And nor should it be because it's got the history of it.
Yeah.
Man, okay, I want to be respectful of your time. I've got 5 questions.
Oh, boy.
These are not rapid fire.
Okay, good. Because I'm going to have to unpack a lot.
Yeah, feel free to. We can talk our way through them. Yep. But I'm going to need you to check any modesty at the door.
Okay. All right.
Number 1, Chuck Stikl, what's the greatest compliment you've ever gotten? If you can narrow it down to 1 or 2. It doesn't have to be.
The greatest compliment. I've ever gotten. Jeez, boy. Yeah, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one, isn't it?
I don't, because I don't hear them. Even when they are genuine and people are giving them to me, I turn them off, which is not a great way to handle things, which is not a good way to, because again, it's not really appreciating the person who says it either.
Yeah, exactly.
By turning it off. But I have a real problem with doing that, where I just don't hear it. I don't hear it. It's never. It is very, like today, we talked about how long I've been doing this for. And this being 30 years, it's come up more than once this year. And it's been the first time where I've been acknowledging what I've done as far as that goes.
Do you want to know the best compliment I've heard about you from Greg Kozak?
Sure.
He said he's a great dad.
Wow.
He said he is a great.
Some days that was.
He said he's a great. But that's what makes
thing.
you a good one. Is you realize I'm not that way.
Right. Yeah.
Kozak and I talked about, because we talked about always having to be on and always being a dad. It's kind of you're always a dad, and that's what he laid out. So and this was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
That's wild,
but it stuck with me. So keep that in your pocket.
Okay. All right.
Number 2. You're allowed to do one activity with one person for 5 minutes. What would that activity be, and who would you do it with? I will tell you where this came from. Okay. Somebody asked me if you could get up on stage and sing one song with any artist, who would that be? And I was so stumped that I just took this question and modified it into one activity.
Because I don't want to, because there's one thing if you would sit in a practice room and hang with somebody. But look, I am not good at singing. I've never been good at.
I've heard you sing
playing an instrument.
Before.
Yeah, it's not good. That's called yelling, and it's different. And listen to me, Zach Del Rocha would differ with you on that completely, because I don't think I could do any of those things, and I don't really know what I'm really, really great at.
We rarely do, right?
But I will tell you this.
Let me hear it.
One of the. And you've been present for this, so I think you'll get it more than other people, is that when we have conversations with some incredible people, I don't want to be doing something with them. I want to be talking with them.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be in a discussion. I can't tell you how many times we sat down with Chris Christopherson, and Chris is a very genuine kind of guy, which is amazing. Truly. Because that's what I love when you talk to some of these guys and they ask about you. And they do, it's not just all about them. And let me tell you the 3 stories.
Want to know.
And of course, we do want to hear those 3 great stories or whatever that you're famous for and all that. But at the same time, too, it's so a boring answer is I don't want to sing. I want to talk. Is that an action? Is that doing something with somebody? And then I have to choose who I'm going to do that with? Is this an alive or dead or both or what?
Both. All the above.
All of the above?
But you only get 5 minutes.
You only get 5 minutes of this. What do I need to get to the bottom of in
this
5
minutes?
Is the moment
Chuck decided he'd never do a podcast.
What do I get in 5 minutes? Because again, I feel like I could solve a lot of unknowns. Okay? Who has held up? I guess we got to go back in history then, which is a shame because I got a feeling these people, these great philosophers or whatever, probably were jerks. I'm going to guess they were all jerks. The kings and this and King Arthur and this and that. They're probably all jerks.
Don't give me into that Socratic method.
We're
sick of you.
Probably a jerk, right? So now I don't know if okay. You know who I really would have loved to just sit down with, and it probably wouldn't have been. It would have been just, and it's a weird one to pick, but I think about him a lot, and maybe it's because he's passed, in the last few years. But Norm Macdonald.
Oh yeah.
Listen to me. None of this would change the world. He was not a guy who was going to change the world. He was not a guy. He was a guy who was constantly thinking, how I can make this story funny.
Oh, yeah.
What can I do? I mean, while he is engaged with you, but his head's on a different level where it was, okay, no, that would be funny, but not that. No, wait, but this and that. And then
it's constantly, the tumblers are constantly going.
And then, but he would just say it and just, and just keep going. And I think that would be phenomenal to spend 5 minutes hanging with him.
Norm's whole approach. You said you keep going. I went to a restaurant, and you know what? Somebody said I needed to eat first a loaf of bread, and then he keeps and it's on to the next thing.
And then but the problem with the 5-minute rule on this is you might not get to the really
you might not get to the nitty gritty. You're like, okay, I've had the crunchy outer shell, but I need the softer interior. Who was the roast Norm did where he refused to come out?
It was Bob Saget.
Yes, yeah. That said so much about Norm.
But also remember, Saget was a very dirty comic.
Raunchy.
Very dirty.
Oh, yeah.
And for him to go up there and do nothing but straight jokes, clean
dad
jokes after the guy who was on Full House is getting roasted. It kind of was brilliant.
It was almost like a counterculture genius move.
And you can tell the only people who got it were the comics.
Were the ones on stage. Exactly right.
And there were other people on stage that were not comics who did not get it.
They weren't getting it.
But
every comedian. I saw an interview where Letterman said that was one of the most brilliant performances he's ever seen. And I was like, Letterman he gets it.
Yes.
Man, a conversation with Norm Macdonald. That's well done.
I think I like that.
That's a good one.
Okay.
How long were you doing what you do before you realized, okay, man, this is for me? Some people have impostor syndrome where they're like, I still don't know if I'm going to be able to do what I do.
5 minutes.
So you knew
right away. Here's something you might not know about me. When I was a kid, I was a radio freak as a kid. There's a lot of people who were my age because you had television, you had radio, and we had cable was kind of new. In fact, when I was younger,
we controlled.
And when I was younger, we didn't even have that. But and you had magazines or whatever. So that was all you had. So I was a morning radio in particular, a freak, where I would have that clock radio and it was set, and I would listen to it as much as I could. When I was older and could drive to school, I would get up and drive and hang in the parking lot listening more and more. And some people. When I was a kid, my favorite Christmas present was a tape recorder, with a microphone, and I'd go around interviewing people and doing my own radio shows and and do the whole bit. So now the problem with it was, and especially growing up, it's not like Milwaukee's a huge metropolitan area, but it felt like when I moved to Tulsa, it was a lot smaller and a little more doable. Mm-hmm. But living in Milwaukee, that'd be a great job, but how am I ever going to get that? That's not, and how do you even get into it? I didn't understand. And I came down here and met some people in here, and it was like,
thank you, Randy Fuller.
Yeah. We love it when people show up and help us put bumper stickers on. Oh, you mean I can do that?
That's a thing?
Yeah, we're not going to pay you, but, I'll give you some concert tickets for something or what. Oh, sounds good. Sign me up. Where can I do this every day? And that's how I kind of got into it. But I was ready for this. Always, and thankfully, because again, you don't know how the future is going to go. I was able to have a career in it.
Oh yeah,
because that was you asked me before about if I would get into radio now. As I don't know if I would anymore. The radio's not going away, but as far as getting new people into it and stuff like that, it's a lot harder. And
it's a hard hustle.
And listen to me, if you want to get married and raise a family, there's probably not a job for you.
Yeah. I don't know if anything in entertainment-based is.
It's really hard. You're taking a lot of chances.
When people tell me, hey, I want to be a concert promoter, I say, no, you don't.
Right.
I know what you think.
Right.
You think,
you think you do.
Yeah. And if you want to be the one who's here at 4 a.m. to let the catering and stay until 3 a.m. when you're cleaning up, then go for it.
Right. And by the way, and then turn around and do it again.
And I think you referenced this one time, kind of as a quick side note. When you first came to Tulsa, wasn't the plan to hang here for a bit and then head back?
Go back, I was just going to make some more money. I didn't have any friends here or anything like that. My parents had moved here a couple of years before I did and were dumb enough to put a return address on the Christmas card. And
now
guess
I know.
what?
Remind them.
Guess what?
I didn't exist.
Just ended up on the front porch and said, hey, here. And the idea was just make some money again. And because I ran out of money is what I did, It turns out playing in a band isn't going to get it done for you necessarily, especially in the band that it was not very good. So then I did that, and it was Yeah, it was pretty wild how just meeting the right people and all that kind of worked out.
Man, thank you. Like I said, Randy Fuller, thank you,
Yeah.
Polo. But what band were you in?
Oh, good Lord. I don't even remember what our name was. No, literally, like we would play in living rooms. Like at somebody's party or something like that.
Everybody starts playing at somebody's party at some point.
No, that's as far as it had gotten. But I was going to dedicate my life to it.
Yeah. You think I'm giving you a hard time, but I remember the Hofbrau days where you'd get up and sing a couple, and it wasn't bad. I know you're like, oh, man, it was the worst ever, don't it? It wasn't bad.
Then it's gotten worse. I don't know what the deal is because I do that karaoke Thursday, and it's pretty bad. And I had headphones on. I mean, there's really no excuse. But I will say this. I always loved it. And so, okay, if I can't be it, how do I stay close to it?
Exactly.
How do I find my way to be around
the Johnny B. journey?
Yeah. That's it. That's what I think. There's a lot of, along with a lot of other things. But you and I, and again, we just don't always meet tons of people like this. Not to say that there's not a ton of creative people out here and stuff like that. But we kind of grew up in it, and a lot of people have moved away and different stuff like that. But that's one of those things where we've always just kind of, that's it. That's what we were going to do, and we were going to find a way to make it happen, and we did.
And man, somebody asked me the other day, and where some of these questions come from, would I do it? And I said, man, I think so. It just, when you're in your 20s, it never crossed my mind I couldn't.
No.
And then you get it, and you're so far into it, you kind of got to keep doing it.
It was weird, though, too, what radio was in 1995.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to now. I mean, I would sign autographs for an hour and a half at an Edge Fest. Oh, man. I would sit at a table and sign autographs.
You guys had the little canopy over the talent
and
table.
Again, the whole point of it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Huge deal.
And then all of a sudden the internet came and it went, well, wait a second. We can be entertained everywhere at all, anytime we want to.
And the way we want to. And what version
we
want
that went away really quickly then after that. But yeah, I try to explain it to like the kids and stuff like that. And they don't understand.
My daughter and I have had conversations because she was born after the internet was a thing. It's already established.
Right.
She's always had it. I told her, and it's funny because, you and I, our stories are so similar. If casinos had opened earlier, or if Chad and Hunter had gotten canes earlier, I would have never built a career.
Right.
That's it. Into it, and then all of a sudden, man, I'm doing it.
Everybody I've ever talked to in the entertainment business all seem to have the same story when that goes, because there is so much talent and there's so much good stuff out there. You need luck.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but you do.
You have to have a
things kind of worked out where the hole was here and you could fill it. And for people who do not acknowledge that ever, well, you know what? People I talk to in the entertainment never talk like that. I hear other people talk like that about people in entertainment, but everybody luck has been there at the right time for things to work out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I couldn't have scripted it the way if I wanted to. You
correct.
had to let it happen.
Yeah, you did.
And it did.
Yeah.
Number 4, what is one truth you've realized or one piece of advice you've received that everyone should be so familiar with it becomes a cliche? And you can even use a cliche one if you want.
Oh, I'm going to break your heart on this one. This is a hard one for me to say. You know how when you hear, I don't care what you would want to do, just follow your dreams, go do it. Yeah. Here's my thoughts on some of that now as I've lived and done a lot, and we just sat in here and talked about this great career in 30 years and how I got to enjoy it, all that stuff like that too. There is a small window of time I've noticed, and again, I think the world has changed quite a bit, and it may not be the same window, and it may look differently or what have you, but where it is not a bad idea to be able to do more than just chase your dream. Mm-hmm. Maybe find some good skills. Mm-hmm. Maybe find something else. Because there is also a point where I am, a 50-plus-year-old person, and if the job goes away tomorrow, I don't know what I do. And that is a hard time to decide, I can go. So, it is great to follow your dreams and stuff like that too, but you should also shore yourself up a little bit. Whether it's the education, whether it's learning a different trade. Because I'm going to tell you this right now, as you get older, you're going to want to do things with family, friends, and you're going to want to retire. And it is going to be harder and harder as the years go on to be able to retire. They're already talking about raising the retirement age. And again, because there's nothing to pay for any of these people that are retiring. I hate saying that, but I think I'm saying it like this. Don't just chase your dreams. Also use your head a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I get you.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've looked back on it and going, boy, if I had just applied myself a little bit longer for, 3-4 years of schooling and that, I feel like I would have been in a lot different place as far as the great unknown for me than I am now. And yes, I'm proud of all of the things I've done the last 30 years in radio. And yes, it's been very good. But it also, I still feel as vulnerable as I was the first year in radio, which kind of and again, I work at a place where they've been really good to me. I don't feel like they're pushing me out the door or anything like that. But at the same time, I do feel as vulnerable. And that's kind of a scary way to go into your 50s and 60s.
For sure. Going,
well, I don't really know how I'm going to make it after this. So, that's the one thing I would say is that, and again, when you are chasing a dream, like when I tell this to bands all the time, I mean, playing around town's fun. And if you want to just do that, that's a great thing too. But if you want to really make your shot at it, you do need to hit the road. And now, obviously, you can't go work on having a second job and all that kind of stuff if you're hitting the road. You got to commit one way or the other to that. But what I'm saying is just kind of setting yourself up with maybe whether it's schooling or whether it's just learning another career or something like that. And again, it doesn't mean it. I can't tell you how many guys I met that were in music who went out of it and are doing something else and quite happy.
Yes.
And quite pleased. We know some of the same guys. And gals.
Happy they did the music, but happy that they're
also happy that and they take their families on vacations and they do this and they, and so I would also tell people that are, getting started in the entertainment business, stuff like that is also something you need to be aware of because it seemed very magical at the time, and it was no problem to eat ramen noodles when I was in my 20s. But, again, when you are 40, 50, 60 years old, you're not going to be wanting to eat ramen noodles. And then your doctor's going to tell you that, too. Oh, yeah, that's another fun thing, too, is that you can go see the doctor a lot more. And believe me, they have a lot of things that they would like to tell you. So was that?
Yeah, that was it.
It was kind of sad that was the one takeaway I wanted to say, but
I don't think it's sad as much as being realistic. I had to tell my daughter my end is out of my control. I don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And when it does, this is like playing athletics. It trains me to do one thing.
Right.
And if that one thing isn't there, you have transferable skills or whatever, but I'm starting over again at 50, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And again, I got to be honest with you, I don't know how transferable my skills are.
I think they're more transferable than you think. But
people think that. But again, if I'm not writing business emails and doing there's a bit of a curve I'm going to have to, make before I'm going to, be able to do anything effectively. And that's some of that is on me. And some of it is that I can also start preparing for things like that, even if I don't use them. It's
a real concern. Whereas, man, in 2009, it wouldn't have crossed my mind.
No, right.
I was too busy thinking I was on top of the world and thinking I was a hot shot.
Right.
Hey, last question.
Okay.
Hopefully, much more positive note.
Okay.
If you had to pick one moment from your life that music helped to define, that song's always going to bring back a certain memory, what would that moment be and what was the song?
There is one song that, and again, this is 40 years later, what? Let me do the math here. Okay, so like 35 years later or whatever, I think there is one song, and a lot of people say, "Oh, lyrics kind of a little cheesy." I don't know if it, but I know a lot of bands who really think the song is important, and that is Neil Young's "Rockin' in the Free World." Now, it is very dated. There's a lot of references to George Bush and not
senior.
Right. But there is a line in that song that I cannot hear. And I've heard the song thousands of times. And I cannot listen to it without tearing up and crying. There's a woman in the night with a baby in her hand under an old street light near a garbage can. She puts the kid away and she's going to get a hit. She hates her life and what she's done to it. There's one more kid that'll never go to school, never get to fall in love, and never get to be cool. And never get to be cool.
Yeah.
I'm crying right now.
Yeah.
Never get to be cool. That's all you wanted as a kid.
It is.
That's all you.
Feel that.
Maybe you didn't. Maybe you're right. Maybe you didn't feel like that all the time. But there's that one time where you felt kind of cool. Every kid, and that line. Every single time I hear it, I just tear up.
Man, it is. And listeners, Chuck and I have never had this conversation before, but because of that song, and I remember watching him perform it on Saturday Night Live and being blown away.
Yep.
And my therapist and I have had this conversation, and I said, I can't really complain because I felt cool before.
Right.
Because of that line specifically.
Right.
And I remember standing there thinking, man, I feel cool. And there's people out there who are never going to get that.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that I'm not proud of this. I've probably taken that away from. When I was younger and dumb and smart aleck and just somebody's having a good day and you effing it up.
Yeah.
But yes, Chuck and I are both teary-eyed. Man, I was going to end on a positive.
I know. No, you know what? I like that better.
I like that one better too.
I like that better too.
I will tell you, when I decided to do this, and I may have mentioned this to Jeff Shield if it ever comes up in a conversation, I said, man, I would love for Chuck to be my first session because he and I not only have a history, but it's such a full history.
Yeah.
When I was divorced, I picked up the phone and called you.
Yep.
When
vice versa.
And the great news was happening.
We also got to enjoy a lot of things together too. And a lot of incredible trips and a lot of
laughing while Christopherson's trying to open up the bus and couldn't get to figure the damn thing out. He's getting madder and madder, and we can hear him cussing on the outside. But man, thank you for doing this first one with me, and thank you for helping to make it a great session. And I will tell you, and I've kind of dropped a hint on this, I'm thinking there may need to be a part 2.
I'm all about it.
And we may even need to bring another partner in crime along with us on this one.
But, I think you're right.
But thanks so much for having it, and man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you. Love you.